Well, this is Steve Ridgel and also Remy, who's out here this morning with me early doing some recording. And so I've been reading about the fall, creation in the fall, and how when Adam and Eve rebelled against God and thought they knew better than God, and they got put out of the garden, and not just Adam and Eve were cursed, but creation was cursed. You've got thorns and thistles, and sometimes you don't quite think about that because, after all, I've grown up in a fallen world. I never knew a perfect world. I will someday, but I don't now. But out at our ranch the other day, we went out, and our young bull has a big abscess right under his jaw, right on his neck. Now, that happens to cows and bulls all the time. And now, once in a while, it might be a snake bite, but typically what that is they've got a thorn. They were grazing, they're eating, and somehow they got a cactus thorn. And it works its way into a sore. Now, it's typically not fatal. I mean, real cowboys pin them up and just stab it, drain the pus, and shoot a little penicillin in it. I never was. I'm afraid I'm going to kill my bull when I do it. So I'm more of try to be a surgical precision doctor. And so I'm more of a cut it across the abscess and let it drain and then shoot it with penicillin and on you go. But I thought a lot when I was watching our bull the other day. I got to thinking, that bull's out there and he's grazing, and we had a lot of rain in the spring, and so everything really was green. We had a lot of grass, and now it's gotten really dry like it does in West Texas. So it's tough grazing, and it's dried up, but still he's enjoying life, and he's going along and thinking, wow, how great is this? And all of a sudden he gets a thorn. I think sometimes what Adam and Eve ever thought after they got out of the garden, if they ever looked up and said, what were we thinking? How could we have been so stupid? I wonder if they realized the implications down through the ages of what they had done. Or maybe they focused on what God told Eve, that, well, through your seed is going to come the one who's going to destroy the serpent. I don't know what all they thought about. I know they must have had regrets. I know that it must have been hard when Adam's out there working hard to eat instead of just going and taking what he wanted. We're a little bit like that sometimes. We just don't think through the consequences. Sometimes even when we do things and we know there are consequences, we don't think about it until, bam, it slaps us right in the face. There's always consequences. My wife tells our grandkids all the time, make good choices. And then number 2, because choices have consequences. And that's true. Good choices have good consequences. Bad choices have bad consequences. God's always done that for us. He said, live this way and you'll be blessed. That's a consequence for a good choice. If you do not live this way, you will not be blessed. Bad consequences for bad choices. I want everybody to follow God because they love Him and want to, but also get the power of, hey, don't do this. Listen to God. If you don't, you'll have this consequence. Now, fear of consequences won't always lead you to do the right thing, but it does help. But I want to remind you that a lot of things that we think, well, God's going to punish you. No, He's not. God just said, if you do this, this will happen. If you do this, this will happen. It's just consequences. I choose to live the way God asked me to because, as imperfect as I am, as much as I struggle, and as long sometimes as it took me to start living the way God wants, just like all of us sometimes, I do know that what God asks is best because He made me and He knows me. So this is Steve Ridgel just thinking about choices and consequences and my bull.